Well, I heard just recently of a 30-year-old who died as the result of a stroke. And some of you are already kind of edgy because of our conversation. Mark Moore is here and wonderfully has come through 2 strokes. And I think we better put that acronym up right now, just to give you some comfort. FAST, easy to remember. F is the first thing you look for.
That's correct. The American Heart Association came up with this acronym called FAST, F-A-S-T. The F stands for facial drooping. The A stands for arm weakness. The S stands for speech difficulty.
And sometimes the tongue.
Sometimes the tongue. And the T stands for time to call 911.
Yeah.
And what I would want viewers to understand was that if you experience any of these, and if you know of a loved one experiencing it, it's probably time to call 911. They may be having a stroke. And it's an important acronym. And I was not aware of it back in 2007. And when I was coaching my son's baseball practice that day, actually I was experiencing one of those. The arm weakness was happening. And had I known that acronym, I might have known I was having a stroke and could have got to the hospital even sooner.
Time is critical.
Time is critical.
A stroke of faith, a stroke survivor's story of a second chance at living a life of significance. Well, you were certainly making your mark, Mark, as a very successful businessman. And I loved reading your personal story. You were raised in Queens, New York, 10 in a 2-bed home.
Yes.
Whoa, 2-bedroom home. You say, I didn't know I had been a poor kid until I became rich as an adult.
Correct.
But none of all that was God's best for you.
That's correct.
And you told me in the green room, God used this stroke to set you on a new path.
That's correct. And, you know, you talked about the fact of the matter is God sometimes gives us storms to lead us in a certain direction. And it took me a while to realize, and fortunately not very long, but I didn't come to that realization the first minute. But as I went through this process, I realized that the storm was to lead me in a certain direction, and He wanted me to do other things with my life. So even after my partner and I was very successful in selling the business, I had opportunities to do other businesses. I've chosen not to do other businesses. Health-wise, I'm fine, and I could go back into the corporate world. I've chosen not to do that because I want to do something different. And what I've told people is for 30 years, God allowed me to do that in the corporate world. He's allowed me to now have a second life. And if He would allow me to live another 30 years, I would like to do something different.
So tell us what you're doing today.
So today, my wife and I created a family foundation. It's called the Mark and Brenda Moore Family Foundation. And it's focused on healthcare, education, arts and culture, and Christian evangelism. And it's really just our way of trying to give back. I serve on boards for nonprofit organizations because nonprofit organizations, they don't pay board members, so it's very difficult for them to get board members. So to me, this is just another way of giving back, to give my time and my resources.
Trying to really impact the culture. Residual from your strokes, have you any permanent loss?
You know, when I had a stroke, as we talked about, I lost the ability to talk for a while. I lost the ability to walk for a while, lost flying motor skills on the left side, and peripheral vision on the left side.
But you go on to run a 5K race, not too long.
Yeah, look, I was fortunate enough with God's blessings to run a 5K race less than a year after suffering those. So the walking came back, the talking obviously has come back. The fine motor skills, the use of the left side came back. The only thing that hasn't come back, the loss of peripheral vision on the left side, that has not come back. So as I'm sitting here talking to you, even though I can look straight ahead, I know you're here. But if someone's standing to the left, I don't know they're there unless I scan.
Okay.
So you have to scan to see.
Okay.
But
just a reminder of who is in control.
Exactly.
Am I bold in saying that?
Absolutely, absolutely.
We have a beautiful picture taken just at Easter of your family, obviously cheering you on in this. And, you know, when you look back, you had a rough childhood. There were guns and knives in that neighborhood. And, yeah, some pretty scary situations with behavior being the focus more than belief. But in the midst of this crucible, I think you found the key, Mark.
Yes.
As I read your book, Surrender, you said, okay, God, whatever you want to bring my way.
That's right.
You were on board.
And that was the biggest, most challenging thing for me was surrendering. And that made all the difference in my recovery. once I realized I needed to surrender and relinquish, and surrender really means relinquishing control.
Yeah, relinquishment is key.
And that's a big thing, and certainly as a someone in the corporate world, that's tough for us and it's big, giving up control. But the minute I realized I need to give up control and surrender, and everything changed. Everything changed. The recovery, the mindset, everything changed. And God just took me on a path where He wanted to take me. And that was the key.
Mark, thank you for being it's so unusual for a guy to be this honest and vulnerable. I take out the word honest, vulnerable, okay. Because all the emotions are here, the details of the struggle, and you don't have to be someone dealing with the issue of strokes to be encouraged by this faith story. A stroke of faith. Mark, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I appreciate
And keep on keeping on. Was that a picture of that prayer tower? That prayer tower?
Yeah.
Was it?
A patient towel.
The patient tower. I don't know why I thought. I know why I thought.
Yeah.
But just doing great things.
Thank you very much.
We'll be back. Don't go away.